internet, my name is Lave and I watched High Life, which unfortunately hasn't got a wide cinema release over here in the UK. I had to track it down at my local Curzon cinema and it might be available on their streaming service, but I really wanted to see this one in the cinema. I can't claim to know the director Claire Denis, but I heard some interesting things about it and I do love me some existential sci-fi. So this one takes place in deep space outside of our solar system, predominantly following a father and a daughter who were part of a crew of convicts sent on an experimental mission to see if they can harness the rotational energy of a black hole. So this is one of those movies where I think the less you know about it going in, the better it will be. What I will say about it is that it is told in a non-linear fashion, so you see the crew and their mission at various stages of the journey, and I do think some of those elements work well and some elements don't. Like, for example, you do get a couple of flashback sequences which are full of exposition to explain what's going on. There is a flashback where it comes back to Earth and you see the doctor who came up with the idea to send these criminals out on their mission, and I wasn't a massive fan of some of the narration in parts, but the first act is really intriguing. It is admittedly a bit of a slow burn and it does lull you into a false sense of security as we join Robert Pattinson's character Monty going about his daily routines whilst looking after his baby girl Willow. It's quite disturbing too to have an isolation space movie and all that comes with that, with a baby at the centre of it. There's times where it's crying, where it's on its own, which really did disturb me, but then it is juxtaposed with really sweet scenes when Robert Pattinson is teaching the baby how to walk, or when it's sleeping and gently snoring with him by her side. It's full of mystery as well. You do ask questions like how and why are they in this situation, which the film does answer as it progresses, but like I say, I do want to keep this one vague. But what I will say is that it is a mood piece. It is a character study of some pretty unsavoury people. They are criminals, and the film does have this running metaphor through it, like the black hole that they're on their way to research. These people are dark and they consume and destroy everything that they touch. The question is there redemption on the other side? There's also some pretty interesting casting choices with some fascinating performances in there, like Andre Benjamin, the guy from Outcast, delivers a surprisingly thoughtful performance as one of the crew members. You've also got Mia Goth, who's playing another weird and disturbed character, very much in the vein of her role in A Cure for Wellness, but it very much works in this. But the two standouts for me are its two leads, Robert Pattinson and Juliette Binoche. Both are kind of edgy and on the fringe of madness. They both have checkered pasts, and you do question their motivations, but it's through these two that the film's theme of atonement is at its strongest, and how they go about it in this environment. Both give really captivating performances, but I would argue that it's Juliette Binoche who actually delivers the gutsiest performance. But it is another win for Robert Pattinson, who has just been announced, like on the day that I went to see this, as the new Batman, which I'm totally on board with. But as long as he continues to do independent films like this and The Rover and Good Times, both films which I own, and I just hope he continues to do and seek out independent directors, because he's smashing it. Speaking of independent films, which this is, they're working on a really tight budget of reportedly just $8 million, which is nothing. And for me, at times, it did show. I think it does have some interesting design elements and some nice cinematography, but some of the sets, costumes and visual effects did remind me of shows like Red Dwarf and the original Star Trek series. I do wonder if the film would have benefited from having a bigger budget. I think if it did have a bigger budget, then it would have been even more similar to films with similar themes like Sunshine, Solaris, and maybe even Interstellar. But then another part of me thinks, no, if it did have a bigger budget and was more like those films, then it wouldn't have been as unique or as quirky, and it would have lost some of its identity. So that's my thoughts on High Life, and pause the video if you want to take a closer look at my enjoyment tracker now. On the way home from watching this film, I started to think about the sci-fi element and thought, would it have worked if the sci-fi element was removed and you put all of these characters in an isolated prison or somewhere else on Earth and something else apocalyptic was happening? Would it have still worked? And yes, I absolutely think it would have. But then I also think that the sci-fi element and the metaphors that come with that makes it better, which is why I liked it, but I can understand why some people might not like it. I mean, it is a slow burn of a movie, but I did enjoy it. I've been thinking about it all day. So if you've seen it, let me know what you thought down in the comments, and as always, thanks very much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you can, give it a like, and don't forget to share the lave. Subscribe